Well, I gotta admit, these last few dimensions, at 7, 8, and 9, I gotta admit, are a real pain in the ass. But through that, I've discovered something incredibly useful I wish I knew. As you can see by the script, I'm starting to use pilfer. Pilfer is incredibly useful in the Thief because the amount of resources you get from it is insane. You get more than if you were to stack your team with frying pans. So, that is an issue in itself. So the reason we are switching to pilfer is there is a goal I want to achieve here in Dimension 7. So, the Good Lord is nice enough to give you 5 gold bars. With those gold bars, all you need is 10 silk, and you can build the Adventurers Guild, which nets you something like, I think it's 300 or 500 essence, which is huge in just upping your health and making sure you've got the correct threshold to actually complete the dimensions. What this means, though, is had I been using pilfer earlier on, in Dimension 3 for instance, and pilfered the correct enemies, the gold knights in the jail area, I could get the Adventures Guild right then and there. It wouldn't be a harder task, because again, those gold knights drop gold, so you can get that 5 gold, not easily, but it is definitely accessible. So this is a huge discovery, if you will, for the run, because it means the way I grind, the way I progress through the dimensions is going to be completely different, because there are a lot of quests that I can now actually go after and achieve, and that's sort of why this is become such an issue, because I get this dimension done, and then we run into a similar scenario where I need rusty keys in order to complete that essence quest. Get, I think it's 250 essence for the key quest, so that I can then have the correct HP to do Dimension 8. And again, had I been using Pilferer on the Thieves much earlier on, I would actually be able to get all the resources and materials I need for these quests a lot earlier. I could stack up my relics a lot better. I could then progress a lot quicker and spend more time on these later dimensions where it is really necessary. For instance, this dimension right here. I usually don't like going this far into the dungeon because it's taking me, it's an hour, so that's 60 minutes. So it breaks my streak of aiming for a minute every 10 floors, because that's the pace you would need if I want to do this run as I initially did within that 10-hour goal. Now obviously I'm already over that, but the idea is through this discovery of Pilfer on the Thief, I can do a lot better throughout the whole run. So I've sort of come to a conundrum, because I would very much like to actually complete this run, but at the same time I have spent something like 2 months. So for reference, Dimensions 1 through 6 were all recorded, all completed over 2 months ago. I've spent the past month or so trying to get Dimension 7 done. I've reset it a number of times before I actually discovered that I could pilfer for the silk. And through that, then I can get the essence to actually have the HP for the Good Lord, because the Good Lord is a problem we'll get to in a second. And right now, I am stuck on Dimension 8. No, sorry, I've got that wrong. Backtrack. This is Dimension 8, I'm stuck on Dimension 9. So, yeah, if that was a lot of confusion, just +1 to all the dimensions. But anyway, so we get to floor 500, we're clear. We need to get to 400 for the gold. I believe that's when he sends it in your mailbox. And we also obviously need the 10 silk so that I can build the Adventurers Guild. If I don't get that essence, I won't be able to level up the HP enough, and therefore I won't be able to survive the Good Lord, because Good Lord himself is a pain in the ass that you have to also KO him with dots, which is really important, because it means you do need to run nurses, you do need to run dark mages, and you want a skull blade because you want to be able to inflict burn. Whew. But anyway, back to the conundrum. So again, I'm close. I can get Dimension 9 done if I continue to grind away at it. But here's the thing, it takes me 2 hours of time to invest in the possibility of the run being successful. Because that first looting run, if you will, takes me 2 hours. And within those 2 hours, I need, at this point, I think it's 16 rusty keys in order to be able to complete that quest in Dimension 9. So if I don't get 16, it is really, really abysmal. It feels just awful. I got 15 this morning, and I was just, I tried to push as far as I could. I got to floor 600 before the team wiped, because without gear I couldn't get past 600. It's also a good thing to know the upper limit. But what I'm really trying to get across is, although I would like to really complete this run, if I restart the whole thing from this point, I can do a lot better. And that's probably going to happen again. It's probably going to happen a couple of times because there is a lot of refinement that can still be done to this run. A lot of different things to try out and test. So I don't know whether or not you'll see the next dimension. I might give it a few more tries just to get it done, because dimension 10 should be the easiest of all. Simply put, I will get to the boss, quit out, and just run 6 nurses. I don't need the clock for the actual boss at that point. I just need to get to floor 990, and then 6 nurses can do it a piece of cake. They can just heal each other, and you don't have to worry about it. The issue with all of these dimensions is I don't want to waste the magic clocks, so they have to be done in 2 runs. So, the branching ideas that I do have going forward. I could either restart, sorry, not restart. So I can either use the same method as this, grind out dimension 1, and then try to progress, but use the thief a lot earlier on. Or I could grind to dimension 3, and then grind in dimension 3. Get essence, waste magic clocks, doesn't matter. Just get everything I need to complete those quests. To complete the key quests as best as possible, definitely build the Adventurers Guild, get the essence, and try to really catapult myself. Because there are a few other items that would also make this a lot easier. For instance, if I could craft the Infected Edge, which is a headache in itself because the poison vials you need for it only drop from the Abomination, which is a single boss. Therefore, you only have two chances every 100 floors, basically. One chance when you pilfer, and then one chance when you actually beat the boss to get the items for the Infected Edge. But through the Infected Edge and a Skull Blade, you can beat any boss. Damage aside, you can beat any boss as long as you have healing, which means that my mentality is no longer run mystics or anything. It is literally power nurses. Have 1 mystic, 5 nurses, craft the phantasmal claws, because you can get the spectral draught, the teeth, super easy. As long as you use pilfer. Pilfer is insane. I can't get across. Like, I love mystics because of the regen, but pilfer is on another level. Like, with it, I think thieves are now above mystics in a tier list, if I were to make a tier list, which is something I do want to do one day, maybe at the end of all this. The thieves are definitely up there, because they speed up the chest animation, they get you a lot more gold, and through pilfer, it's insane to think that you can get more resources in the frying pan. I guess because obviously it's more consistent. Sometimes you get gold, sometimes you get items, and there's just a lot of different ways to complete the run. I will just stop that talk right now, and we'll discuss the Good Lord since we're at it. So the Good Lord has his heal, meditate, smite in itself is also an issue. I have to be able to survive 2 because I can't fully heal. So that's why I've also swapped to running 2 nurses this time around. And for the Dimension 9 boss, Vacation Lord, you have to run 4 because you have to be able to out-heal at 180 damage, 380 damage, 195 times 2, plus the burn damage. So all of these late game fights have a heal check, if you will, because you can't recover enough HP through 1 nurse, because the healing is capped, and if you use first aid, it's single target, so that doesn't work either. The other issue is meditate, which is perfect timing, so he heals for 2.5k, which is significantly more than the damage I can do. Same with the Vacation Lord, Stake Time or Dinner Time, whatever it's called, heals more than I could output through any form of attacking. The only way to beat these bosses this early on, and with this level of gear, is through poisoning and burn. Burn in itself, I need to come up with a way to utilize it a lot differently, because burn cycles through its damage. So the first time it ticks, it does 6%, second time 12%, third time 18%. So you really want to get to that 3rd tick before you actually reapply it. So I do have to do these fights manually, and I do have to keep track of when burn was applied and make sure I don't use Skull Bash, for instance, until that 3rd tick of burn damage. Otherwise, I won't have enough damage. Vacation Lord isn't as bad, because obviously you just focus the grill, then once the grill's done you can beat the Vacation Lord, but the Good Lord in himself is a slow fight for this obvious reason. There is a lower chance of wiping as long as you have the HP threshold and obviously the 2 nurses so I can actually heal. I'd be a lot safer if I ran more nurses, which again I can do easily if I use Pilfer. Pilfer is just the saving grace of this whole run. I think it might allow me to cut down the time significantly. I doubt we're approaching that 10-hour mark. Even though theoretically, if you had the perfect stats, you could do it in 10 hours. I doubt you could through normal means. But that aside, the Good Lord's up. Sorry, I'll try and give a quick summary since I'm sort of rambly. So for the Good Lord, you run 2 nurses so you can out-heal smite. That's fine. You either use group heal, if you have enough HP to survive a second smiting, otherwise use first aid to recover, and then you just make sure to dot it with poison from the Dark Mage and use the Skull Blade to inflict burn. You make sure to only re-inflict burn after the third tick, so you have to count every time the red numbers pop up, because you need that third tick of 18% damage to out DPS his Meditate healing. And that's pretty much it for all these bosses going first. Forward is just dot and forget about it. And if you have that mentality for the early boss as well, probably work out a lot better. But to do that, I need to map out the quests, figure out what quests I want to get done, and the ordering of when I need to farm for X items. Then I also need to figure out HP threshold. So I need to really do a discovery run, if you will, where I just go to each boss and see their max damage, how much I would need to survive, 2 hits, 3 hits, whatever the scenario, depending on the abilities they have. That way I can map out the comps as well as the HP relic. Because another thing, I've invested too much on damage. If we're using dots to damage the bosses, we don't have to worry about the damage relic. It doesn't apply as much damage to the AoEing as it does base attacks, so it's not substantial to level it up in that regard. HP is significantly more important because you do need the HP to survive the bosses. Pretty self-explanatory. Same with like the floor 80 variant rooms with the Red Knights. Since they can double hit, you also need a high HP threshold to survive them. So yeah, so either you will see this run completed, and I somehow managed to get Dimension 9 and 10 done. 9's a headache, 10 should be fine, more or less. We just do it twice. All the janitor versions of the bosses aren't a headache, it's just the initial versions. Simply because they have chances to auto attack. Like their skill use is a lot more random. Whereas if the Good Lord is under X amount of HP, he'll always use Meditate. Same with the Vacation Lord. If he's under X HP, the Grill will always heal him. Been a mouthful. Also do the arena. Same old, every 2 hours. I'm allowing myself to do the arena, even though technically I could do it every time. Leveling up, it's to be honest, a mishmash. Like there is, at this point, I'm just throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks. Which isn't a bad thing to do, because again, this is only really my third serious attempt at the run, so there is still a lot of refinement. So again, either you will see the next dimension and Dimension 10, and I will finally have completed one version of the run, and then we'll start again, or you'll see some sort of discussion video about what I need to do, what I can do, and mapping everything out, and then we'll get back to it. Regardless, hope you enjoyed, hope you're still interested in the topic. I am. See ya.